it's nice to be back in the legislature. We've been out for 200 days, and BC has the distinction of sitting for the least number of days in Canada of any provincial government. So it's nice to be back. The budget was tabled last week, and some of the concerns that I had with the budget is that on the one hand, we're seeing costs go up for families, and we're seeing a lot of hidden tax increases that the Christy Clark and the BC Liberals promised not to do, but they're bringing them in the budget. For example, medical service premiums are increasing. BC collects over $2 billion just on medical service premiums. We're the only province to do that.
And is there a problem by increasing medical service premiums?
Well, the problem is that it's also regarded as a flat tax. So typically in our income tax system, it's graduated and you pay more proportional to your income. Mm-hmm. And these flat taxes, everybody pays them equally. So someone who's on minimum wage pays an equal amount versus someone making $200,000.
So it makes it more difficult for lower income people.
Yeah. So we've seen, particularly in Christy Clark's being premier since 2011, a continued shift in a trend in terms of our taxation patterns. We're seeing corporate taxes decrease and personal income taxes, the total amount that comes into the province, the gap between corporate and the personal income tax has increased on the one hand by a margin of $2.5 billion. And we're also seeing fees increase on ICBC, on BC Hydro, medical service premiums, tuition, ferry fares, and transit.
So the pay per service is going up, and the collective taxes, the progressive collective taxes are going down.
Yes.
And that's a problem.
So that's one of the criticisms I have of the budget. Second, I think that it's very limited in terms of the vision or plan for our economy and for jobs in BC, which are important. It's the foundation of it's our view, the NDP's view, that's a main focus in terms of addressing inequality and ensuring that people have the skills to get a good paying job and to eliminate inequality. It's through good paying jobs. So we've seen BC, we actually have the record of being the worst province in Canada in terms of private sector job growth. We've seen the most number of jobs lost in the private sector. And we're also seeing 13,000 people leaving BC to go to other provinces looking for work. We have the highest child poverty here in BC than across the country for the last 10 years, number one. We have the highest level of inequality, income inequality in BC, absolute income inequality. So the biggest gap between the highest income earners and the lowest income earners. So we have the largest gap of inequality, and we're really seeing issues of affordability rise. So that's our current situation with policies the Liberal government has brought in.
So what is the solution? What do you suggest should be the alternative?
So we suggest that the alternative needs to be, in terms of addressing inequality, number one, we need to implement a poverty reduction plan to reduce poverty and with the goal to ending it.
How is that? What does it mean, reducing poverty? It sounds nice, but what does it mean in practical terms?
It means a plan, right? So a plan in terms of targets and timelines and accountability measures and you can measure it. There are different measures in terms of poverty, that's, official measurements of poverty. And what does a poverty reduction plan address? It addresses income assistance. It addresses housing affordability, because housing is also it's a very high cost for families. It's the highest cost. It addresses skills training. So it includes the ability for people to get, to build skills and to gain experience to be able to be employed.
Is there any bill being introduced to
I'm working on a bill. I'm working on a specific bill around temporary foreign workers, and we'll also be, so hopefully that'll be coming up this session.
And that is to do what with temporary workers?
Well, to ensure that their rights are protected in British Columbia, that they're not exploited, and that there are mechanisms in place for accountability and enforcement.
Right.
Traditionally, BC, our economy has been grown through resource industries, and we're really seeing a neglect of our investment in our forest industry, ensuring our fisheries are healthy, and also other areas of the economy. So including areas of growth, which are going to be our film and TV industry, as well as high-tech sectors. So we've seen that there needs to be, my view, is that we need to have a broader view of supporting and developing our diversified economy.
And what would that broader view would mean? What does that mean?
So I'll give you a concrete example. Our forest industry, and it ties into jobs, it ties into our environment and sustainable forest practices. So right now, we need substantial investment in silviculture, so tree planting. We need to plant many more trees now to ensure that our forest industry is sustainable, and that trees that are cut down are going to be replaced. That's one component. We need investment in replanting. We also need investment in our land base, managing our land base. So this is doing an inventory. We don't have that capacity now.
And the government is not willing to fund those programs, are you saying?
Yeah, so they've been cut, number one. Number two, they're under-resourced, and there's a big backlog in terms of the need, for example, for trees to be replanted. So these are some areas that need focus and need planning and need attention that's neglected in the budget.
So what can you do about it? Can you introduce a private members bill and say we should do this?
So part of our job as an opposition is to raise those matters and to bring those arguments forward and to recommend to the government that these are priorities and they should be addressed. So these are some of my criticisms of the budget, that it's a pay more, get less budget, paying more. Families are paying more and getting less services.
How do you respond to those people that don't like paying taxes?
Well, I think when you talk to people about taxes, and actually if you ask them, you know, what is your feeling paying taxes when it goes into invest in our healthcare system, when your tax dollars go towards our education system, or towards maintaining our infrastructure, roads, when they go towards, services that people support, then you hear a response that people are generally positive. I think that there's a positive view in terms of their tax dollars at work.
How do you know that what people are thinking, what you're thinking, is in fact what the majority of people are thinking? How do you have any constituency assemblies or constituency forums where you gauge the public opinion?
Yeah, at the constituency level, so often, from time to time, hold public forums, town hall meetings on different issues. Also, we participate in a number of community events. We partner with different community-based organizations to support their initiatives and also get feedback from those constituencies and those stakeholders. So we try and really build those partnerships. There's also another, I sit on the finance committee, which is a legislative committee and has traveled across the province and hears public submissions on the budget. So I think that that's a good exercise for getting feedback and hearing the views from the public.
The fact that people make presentations and public hearings, it doesn't necessarily translate into the MLAs will definitely do what the people say. For instance, the hearing on the conversation on health a few years ago, they heard what people wanted, but it didn't make any difference because the power is still concentrated in the government and power. So, do you think that there should be some way of having a referendum on an issue? Say, if we're going to increase taxes on healthcare, can we ask the people to vote on that issue? Define a specific question about increasing taxes for a specific issue and have people decide on that. Then we would have more of a direct democracy rather than, I think what I hear is whatever you want to hear.
Well, we do have a ability to hold referendums in BC, and that's distinct from, I think we're the only province that has a law on the ability to hold referendums.
Would you be willing to do mini referendums, say for your writing, so you will know for sure that what you are deciding here, which way you're voting, is in fact what your constituencies want?
Yeah, I think that's always the challenge. I'm very interested in community engagement and people participating and bringing their views forward. So we, have newsletters, we have developed email lists, we ask people to give feedback, we conduct surveys. Certainly always looking for more ways to engage people.
Mm-hmm. Are you also, or somebody in your party is introducing a bill to that effect, that we should have more public hearings and participatory budgets?
Yep, so that's in place.
That is in place.
That's in place. Yeah, it's a participatory budget process in terms of the Finance Committee.
So what does it mean? It's in place. Are they going to have that? I haven't heard any.
Yeah, they have it. They've had it for a number of years. It's being implemented, and this is where the committee, it's a committee from both sides are represented, travel to different communities, and submissions are made.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the Finance Committee, and we have a private members bill going forward recommending to make other standing committees also functional, because there are current committees here in the legislature, but the Liberals just have not allowed them to work. So our position is that there's a lot of work that they can do to engage the public on a number of different issues.
But there is no bill saying we shall tabulate that public opinion.
Well, for example, the Finance Committee, what happens is that all the submissions that are made are put on the website, so those documents are available and it's made public when it comes to the legislature. And the final report basically is a summary of recommendations that have come forward, and they're divided into different sections, and the different presentations are also noted.
And they're on the website on the BC legislature.
The legislature, yeah, under the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee. All right.
In terms of, I'm also, encourage people to get involved, to bring their stories out, to talk about their experiences, and also be involved in the process.
Where would they bring their stories out when you say where is out?
Well, to their MLAs, in their communities, to get involved in community groups.
Write you letters and...
Yep, write letters, can set up meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Mable. And